Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Invaluable Grace. It is week 3 now of 2023. and personally, that is one of my favorite numbers, 3 and 7, because they represent completion and perfection. So 3 is a good number. Okay. And that's why this year is just going to be great. I'm back with another dose of spiritual motivation, spiritual encouragement, spiritual upliftment, spiritual truth, and just chats, really, just talks. Some of them are internal talks and dialogues that I have with myself. And when the Spirit leads for me to share it, then I share it. And I just pray that I'm able to articulate it as well as I do in my head. It sounds so much better in my head. I will do the best that I can. And I hope that it makes sense to those of you who are listening far and wide. So this week, I was compelled to talk about a very interesting topic. And it's a topic that I didn't really understand it fully until I started seeking out knowledge, and I just started, immersing myself in God's truth and in God's word, and it just was just like a Pandora's box, really, when I started actually opening the Holy Book and things started popping up at me, things that I took for granted, things that I may have not noticed, in the past, but now it's just like shooting out at me, and I am so intrigued, and I just want to learn and understand certain things, I don't think we will ever get to a point where we fully understand the ways of God because He is God, but I think there are definitely treasures, that He wants us to unearth, and discover, just so that we can know Him a little bit more, know His nature. And it's just such a fulfilling thing to come to understanding of certain topics or subjects. There's nothing more anxiety inducing than confusion. And in a world that is filled with confusion, you can understand where anxiety stems from, because people are just really confused. That is the depth of our cultural problems, really, is confusion, because everybody thinks they know truth and everybody's trying to tell you their own truth, and none of the truth coincide because it's everybody living their own truth and it's all conflicting. The only truth, really, that is what we were created to know and understand. We yearn for it, but we keep running away from it. And that is the truth that is freeing, that is liberating. It just makes sense. Like when I came into this truth, it wasn't nice because it goes against everything that culture really tries to dictate to you. But there's a level of peace, there's a level of light bulb, like that makes sense. And you feel it, your body, your soul, your spirit accepts it because that is truth. Today's version of truth that, like I said, I really stumbled upon, and it's just been a very interesting awakening. And it's the topic of feminism, modern day feminism, rather, to be specific. A firm believer, now that I've seen it, that the old ways worked just fine. There was absolutely nothing wrong with the ways of the old. And by old ways, I mean biblical ways, right? And of course, modern culture is progressive. I mean, from 2000 years ago to where we are today, there's been a lot of change due to progression. Okay, we're always thinking we need to fix things that are not broken, and the more that we fix it, the more we break it, and we just altering something that isn't broken, and it just kind of becomes even worse, in my opinion, right? And society and culture as a whole is evident to that fact. I've come to believe, anyway, that the old way is solid. The old way worked just fine, and there was a reason why it was created. The structure was created to work that way. And because culture has progressed so far ahead, we've kind of lost the way of old, and if anything, if people speak of old ways, we are seen as, archaic and cavemen and olden days and conservative. I know that's what they're called in the States. If you have a big stance on biblical teachings and morality, then you are seen as a conservative and you're boring, But I just want to highlight something quickly about feminism. It came about as a means to eradicate female abuse, in terms of to the point where, they were treated like slaves, right? And we were not given the same rights as a man. We were not seen, as key players in humanity. And we were ridiculed, we were abused, we were mistreated, not by all, but a vast majority of men mistreated women. And it wasn't fair. They were treated far better than women, I mean, they were able to get better opportunities. By virtue of being a man, you were able to get better opportunities. And of course, it got so bad that women were severely oppressed by it, and they were silenced and they were abused. And, GBV rose from it. And like terrible stuff came out of that oppression. Hence, feminists became a thing, it became a movement. And female oppression was rife. Stuff that really damaged women and hurt them and killed them, and broke their spirits and their will. And that was necessary. But now we have modern day feminism, and that is nowhere near what the original movement was about, and it's just taken, like I said, progression. It's gone way further than what the initial reason for the movement was. And before I want to dissect modern feminism quickly, I just want to go back to the original source, right? The original document of how creation was, how this whole thing came to be. We have a proof of reference to refer to. And that's the beautiful thing about the Bible, is that we're not in limbo here. We're not trying to play a guessing game, trying to figure it all out. Thank God we have an actual reference book that we can refer all our questions, all our doubts, all our inquiries to. That hasn't changed. It hasn't changed. In the last 6,000 years, every word that's in that book remains constant, remains relevant even till today. Whatever struggles or questions, or confusion people were struggling with 2,000 years ago, that book was relevant to them then, and the same questions and struggles are relevant to us today, right? So when we go back to the book and we go to the beginning, which is the book of Genesis, for those of you who are interested in reading, we have an account of creation. And this account is where God tells us how the world was created and how he formed it in 7 days, right down to humanity and how humanity was created from the dust. And the first man to ever be created was Adam, right? And even though the spirit being is man, meaning men and women, there's really not a gender in the spiritual world, but that's a topic for another day, right? So the spirit being male was formed first by God from the dust, right? Then the man cultivated, and he was told by God to work, okay? He was given everything, and God told him, okay, this is your land. You need to work, you need to dominate, you need to cultivate, you need to thrive. And God noticed after some time that male, the man that is male was alone, right? He didn't have a counterpart, because the animals that he created all had a counterpart. Every male lion had a female lion. Every male giraffe had a female giraffe, right? Everything kind of had a balance in the creation except the male, right? So he needed a counterpart. He needed a partner. And these were God's words. It is not right. It is not good for man to be alone. So I will make him a helper, right? A person, a helpmate, really. Somebody who will assist in ruling, in owning, in cultivating, in dominating. Okay, not a doormat, not a slave, a helpmate, an assistant, somebody who helps you rule what was given to you. Basically, if you're a manager, then you have an assistant manager, or you're both kind of like co-managing something, but there's obviously hierarchy and there's obviously, station. Okay, that's the order and structure of generally most businesses in the world. There is hierarchy, there is structure. Again, everybody plays a different role. Not everybody has the same role. And this was the creative purposes of God when he created man and woman. Man had a role, woman had a role. Not any one of those roles was more superior than the other. They different beings with different roles. That's really just what it comes up to. And now what we have done in our progressive cultures, in our progressive mind, because we honestly think, no, the original the original document is just too stuck up and it's too boring. So we're going to just mix it up and, change it as we go. We have now alluded, and I'm not talking about the real issues of feminism back in the day, it was really, really valid. But now we have progressed so far that we believe women should now thrive at any cost necessary. Okay, so it's gone beyond now abuse, it's gone beyond, oppression. Now it's just like living your best life, becoming a boss, female, and being accomplished, YOLO, and just getting what you want at any cost necessary, suppressing the man, ironically, because now it seems like it's flipping, because the whole narrative is that women women are owning the world, women are running the world, girls are running the world, and you see it. You see it in Hollywood, you see it in pop culture, you see it in movies, all these dominant women, dominating women. And that was not initially our role. Not to say that women shouldn't thrive in businesses, not to say that women shouldn't have good roles in any business, but we were not meant to dominate. We were meant to help the man, who is, first of all, the leader, because by virtue of God's creation, he was created first, and we were created out of the man, right? So the creative structure is that the man is the leader, the man is the protector, the man is the provider, and the woman basically helps and assists the man reach his goal, but also doing her part in this whole situation as well, in this whole cycle. Nah? A woman is not meant to be lazy. A woman is not meant to be a doormat who does nothing. If you really want to know how much of an important role a woman plays in this whole creation process, I think reproduction is a biggest indication of just how vital a woman's role is, and it shouldn't be oppressed or disregarded. But read up on Proverbs 31. That entire chapter really highlights just how productive a godly woman should be. How productive, how influential a godly woman should be. She's not a timid, shy, oppressed woman who is told to shut up and not do anything. She just assists her husband. She helps him. And by doing that, she thrives in her own way because, number one, he loves her. Because she's assisting him, she's not oppressing him. She's not disrespecting him. She's not shunning him. She's not unfaithful to him. She takes care of him. She governs him. And that's actually a very big role, because if he is not taken care of, he is not effective to do what he needs to do as a man, and that is to provide for the whole household, right? The woman is not meant to be the provider. The man is. And what culture is perpetuating is singleness, quite literally. Because everything a woman is portrayed to be nowadays, right? A boss woman, dominating, this hookup culture that has just spread, and women embracing their sexuality. And that's all you see with the celebrities and the videos that you watch. Women are basically half naked, showing you just how sexually woke they are. And that is not a godly woman, because ironically, culture wants you to perpetuate something that men don't even want. A man doesn't want a woman who is highly provocative, a woman who flaunts everything for the whole world to see, a woman who is dominating, a woman who basically makes him feel like he's emasculated. A man does not want that, because innately in his spirit, he was created to perform the role that women are so eagerly chasing to perform today. And on the flip side, a woman wants a provider. She is now embracing a role that was never given to her. And you know how you know that the scales are warped, and you know that really, really we are quite literally deviating from our initial and original purpose and role, is because there is a high percentage of singleness, higher than has ever been currently. More women and more successful, accomplished women are single today than they've ever been in the world. Because women, number one, now in those roles, don't want men who are less than them, who are not as accomplished as them, who don't earn more than them. Now they're looking for high quality men who supersede their expectations, and which is unrealistic. Now you're sitting with single women and with men who are single as well, and you're also emasculating the culture of man, because now you're creating weak men. And that is the culture and the generation that's just being birthed now. It's men who are so feminine and so in touch with their femininity that they are actually regressing. And we're getting dominant women and feminine men. And it's a completely skewed culture. right? So I just want to address that because it's something that we can ignore, and it's something that we are growing up to think it's normal, that it's okay, for this independent, self-sufficient, self-made idea of woman and femininity to just go rampant and thrive. Because for those of you who are raising children and young girls, and even boys, that is not the idea we need to plant in their heads. It is not, because it breaks the system. And ask any successful single woman if she's happy. Ask any CEO of a major company who is single, who has a cat, if she's truly happy. And the answer will be no, because she's lacking what? A provider, her protector, her man, the man that is actually meant to cover her and support and be her guard, right? And her nurturing instinct is meant to nurture him and make sure that he's happy and he's contained and he has all that he is, right? While still thriving in what she does. But now we are lacking in a very important role and a very important part of society, because we are perpetuating a wrong stigma. Okay, so I want to just address that independence is good, yes, and I am not for oppression. I stress that again. There are women who are severely oppressed and abused by men by virtue of us being deemed as weaker than them. That is not what I am perpetuating in this video. I am just saying we have deviated from the original movement of feminism now to like a whole lot of ridiculousness, really, right? And just a whole lot of confusion that is messing up the culture. And that is messing up the children we are trying to rear for a new generation. Because if it carries on this way, there's not going to be a lot of procreation. Because there's going to be a whole lot of single women, single dominant women, and weak single men. So let this be a word of encouragement to you to also, even in your marriage, I think we abuse the word submissive so much, and we've misinterpreted what the word submissive means. It doesn't mean to cower and to be, a slave and a doormat. No, you submit to the will of the leader of the house, and he submits to you. You are both submitting to each other. We've just really confused the two, because automatically we assign woman as the weaker being. And then we hear the word submissive and we think, okay, abuse, slavery, right? So for the young generation particularly, let's not be so quick to embrace the progressive age, because we are not actually progressing. We are quite literally crumbling and falling and crashing quickly. There was nothing wrong with the old ways. And from a girl who was raised by a single parent, I should actually be on the other side of this conversation, where I am, all for feminism or modern day feminism. I was raised by a single mom who was nothing but independent. And that's the values that I grew up witnessing, and of course it's going to rub off, right? Because I didn't have a father figure to play an important role. And that's another thing. Because of this mismatch of roles, we are raising children in homes where they don't have fathers as leaders to show them how they should be living, right? And now it's a broken culture with daddy issues, and it's skewed. So let's not skew it even more by making people believe a lie, by making people believe that it's okay to live in a certain way when it's not. The old way is true. Nothing about it is faulty, because nothing about it wants to hurt anybody. God's way is about freedom. God's way is about happiness and joy. If anything, people have made it seem like it's a killjoy and it's painful, but everything that we have done against the word of God has broken society. Everything. I could name so many. Everything that says God says don't do this actually hurts us. So think about that the next time you are so willing to jump into, progressive culture that goes against the word of God. All right. Be blessed, guys. Bye.